came to visit with the team. You know, a couple common relationships with Joe Houston, Brandon Spikes. And, man, what an impressive body of work, you know. And I think the more that I learn about Matthew and his background and his career, it's not just the football player, but more importantly, the leader, kind of a glue guy, obviously well recognized for his special team play. But in general, his role within that organization and, just the culture of that team. We all observed that from the outside, and it was great to have some conversations with him, what that was like on the inside. And he had a strong message for our team about vision and challenging young people to really be intentional about their plan. And, you know, he mentioned a few things I talked to the team today about. You know, every day that the good Lord wakes you up is a gift. And I think he talked to our guys about no one owes you anything. And no one is entitled to anything. And you have to earn everything. And you have to view it as a blessing. You have to operate out of gratitude. And you truly have to see it as an opportunity. And what are you going to do with that? You know, I mean, obviously, if you're to this point in your life, if you're at the University of Florida as a football player going to school here, you've got tremendous opportunity in front of you, and what are you going to do with that? And then certainly the application of how that applies to our team. We've done all this work since January, and now here comes the opportunity, and what are we going to do with it? So very thankful for Matthew, not only his wisdom about football and life, but his example in faith, and hopefully he'll come back again next year. We certainly would love to have him back. Questions?
End of fall camp for year 4. Where does this team stack up in, I guess, past end of fall camp teams as far as game readiness is concerned?
We probably have more players that I think are game ready. Now, I think our team as a whole, coming out of the second scrimmage, we got a pretty good group of ones that we can run out there. I think our focus this week is working on contingency plans. It's working on, you know, the rotational players. We have players that need to grow in the special teams area, you know, so that we can build depth and build roles for more players on the team. And that's ultimately what we're focused on, you know. And then obviously we're changing gears to afternoon practice this week because school starts Thursday. But in general, we have to make a big jump here over the next couple of weeks with that second tier group of players on our team.
Sounded like that second tier got it a bit more work in the scrimmage compared to the one before. How did you see players respond to that opportunity and maybe define potential roles for themselves moving forward?
Yeah, no, I thought there was probably a dozen players that really took a big jump, you know, that showed promise. I thought the intensity of this scrimmage, the effort, the physicality, the pursuit, the strain, the chase, everything was much better than scrimmage one, you know. So I thought overall it was good, and we saw a lot of guys make progress, and I think in position to do more, you know. And I think a lot of them we still need to see more out of.
Billy, key word there, progress. Have you made as much progress this camp as you thought you would at this point in time?
I think at certain positions we have. You know, I think we went into training camp with kind of some assumptions about, you know, where we needed to make work. I think we've seen some of those things come to light. We need to get healthy. You know, I think some of those positional battles that we talked about, I think we have made progress in those areas. Look, this week we'll really refine the special teams depth chart. We'll move toward, okay, hey, based off of where we're at, how will we play the players in the game? Who are the starters? Who are rotational players? How many plays will they play? So, you know, I think for me, I like where we're at. I think the training camp has been positive. We got to get a few healthy here down the stretch, but in general, it's a greater good game. You got to go you got to go to the deep water, you know, and I think we did that. And there's always going to be some casualties that come with that, but I think overall we got out of it pretty healthy, and I feel good about where we're at.
From the standpoint of injuries, is there anything that you think is lingering and could cost games?
We're fortunate that we don't have to report on that until week 3. But you guys are pretty good at figuring those things out. Look, I think we've got – this is not atypical of any training camp we've had. You know, we'll see where we're at when we get to next week, and we'll put the players out there that are ready.
Contingency plan, probably the biggest one talked about is quarterback 2. What have you seen from that battle, you know, now that fall camp's?
Yeah, it's still very much a battle. You know, I wish I had more clarity, but I don't. So we'll continue to work with that group this week, and hopefully the closer we get to game week, the more clarity we'll have. So still nothing clear cut.
DJ's still on track for where you guys plan for him?
Yeah, today he's just the most. You know, he took team reps today, which was good, and obviously he's hitting. You know, he had a great full stack of throws last week, 4 days in a row. Didn't scrimmage, but did quite a bit of work that day. So yeah, he's feeling much better and he's moving around well.
First team reps?
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean,
No,
like.
no, first team rep, no, were those his first team reps?
Well, when I say that, yeah, I mean, when I say that, he's done quite a bit of work, but I'm talking about not in a controlled setting, if that makes sense, you know, so.
Is that the first time he's done that in camp?
No. But he took good team reps today. He's done it in the past, but I mean, I think he's doing fine.
Sorry for the confusion.
By that, he means 11
Yeah.
on 11?
Yeah.
So Miles Graham was in here on Friday. I think he ended all the, I think we got like 20-some players, 23, I think Matthew said.
Say it one more time.
23 players we spoke to during camp.
Yeah.
But he was the last one and saved the best for last in some ways. Really impressive kid. What is it about him just that has allowed him at 19 years old to be such a leader, so confident? I mean, so prepared already for this role.
Well, if you've met his parents, you know, I think he's a product of his environment, you know, and I think their approach to education, their approach to life in general, not only him, but the entire, his siblings, it's just a very impressive family as a whole. I think they've been very intentional about what was important to them growing up, and I think he's a product of that. He went to, obviously, education has been very important to them as a family. I mean, everything that they've done has been intentional, and if you've ever met his mother and his father, they're both extremely impressive as well. So, yeah, he's mature beyond his years for sure, and certainly that's led to his ability to contribute early.
His physicality, and he seems to relish that. He was talking about, okay, this guy, let's kind of see what he got. There's some of Jaden Baugh in him, like being linebackers and running backs against you. But does he have that? I mean, it's a dumb question probably. Obviously, he's playing linebacker, but does he have that like edge you really look for in a guy who's going to be like your leader at that position?
Yeah, he's got a unique ability to be poised and have composure in certain settings, but he can go there as a competitor when it's time. You know, he's got that physicality, that edge, that competitive spirit. There's no question about that. I think we've been focused on his communication. We've been focused on his leadership, being more vocal, getting comfortable with addressing issues with the other players. I mean, I think we're trying to create more opportunities for him to grow in those areas, but he has the physical gifts. He's talented. You know, we're really dialed in on the things that require no talent, and he's improving his skill level, his football intelligence, his role on the team as a leader, a communicator. He can play football. And I have to remind the running back sometimes that he was a pretty good running back back in the day, too.
I know early in camp you felt like the defense was a little ahead of the offense. Do you feel like the offense is catching up, or has the balance been
practices and scrimmage in that
Yeah,
regard?
we had more good plays on offense in the scrimmage. I think it was a little, it was kind of a tale of two halves, that moved the field portion. The defense controlled that part, and then the competitive part and the good on good, the offense had the upper hand. So I think it came down to a couple points at the very end.
You see the confidence kind of carrying over? I know the spring game was a little bit of an aberration, but between the end of the season and what you're doing in camp in terms of the defense going, I mean, how do you feel about it as a unit?
Yeah, I think that we are on a mission here to play championship caliber defense. That's what I would say. We are on an absolute mission to play defense at a high level. And if you dig into, it's one of the things that we have failed to establish here since I've been the head coach, to be blunt. And I would say my last stop as a head coach, we were very good on defense, and we improved each year. I think we were like 124, 18th, 25th, and the final year we were 11th in the country. So we need to do that to become the type of team that we're capable of being. And I think that I've seen this group of players talk more about that. I think we have personnel and depth and leadership over there to do that. And I think the coaches, this group of coaches, have done a fantastic job with this group.
Did Monty McClain make the steps that you were hoping? I mean, there's a lot of fascination around him given his rating, his background, and his high school track record. Is he poised to kind of break out this year, you think?
Yeah, we've got three corners that we would consider starters, and he's in that group, Devin Dede and himself. Cormani has improved as a tackler. I think he's had a great offseason. He's gained probably 15 pounds of lean muscle. He's bigger, he's stronger. He's been much more disciplined. He's been much more consistent as a teammate, much more accountable. He hasn't had a 6 a.m. The entire offseason, right, which is an accomplishment for him. So I think he's grown up quite a bit. I think he understands his level of loyalty and accountability to the team. He wants to be a guy that people can trust. He needs to continue to work on his communication. And I think he's very much a young player that continues to evolve. But he is a good cover corner. He can play outside. He can match up. He's got height, length, speed, ball skills. He has ball judgment, and he's improved as a tackler. So we need Cormani to continue to improve, and there's a huge, long runway for him to continue to get better.
We've had a lot of players come in here and talk about sort of preparing with urgency. You mentioned in your opening remarks that you can't be entitled. That's something that Cam James was saying. Like, everybody wants to win. Like, the question is, what are you doing to prepare? What urgency do you have to win? At the end of this is your fourth camp. At the end of this camp, is there a different sense of urgency that you kind of notice with this roster that now you've built?
Yeah, I would say what this team is bought into. They get to decide what happens. I think they've bought into the fact that, hey, look, we have ability. There's enough talent here to go toe-to-toe with anybody, and it's going to be about the character of the men that are leading the team and that are representing the team. And, look, there's no guarantee. You have to invest the entire offseason, and then you have to prepare each week. And then you're presented with an opportunity to go toe-to-toe and compete. And you have to earn it on the field in that, 3 or 4 hour block, right? So there's no promise. It's just an opportunity, and you got to go make the most of that. So I think the mentality here is that we know the competition is coming, and it's important that we prepare a certain way to be in the best position when we do get to the game, and then spot the ball, and then we have to earn it one play at a time, one possession at a time, and play complementary football, and hopefully that leads to winning football. So, look, this is there's no promises in this game. You prepare, and then you go compete, and you got to go earn it when the time comes. So we can do everything perfect, but there's no promise of getting the outcome you want when you get to the game. So I think this group understands that, and they look forward to competing this fall.
Going back to the quarterback situation, have you ever had, as a coach, an off-season like this where your starter was this limited, didn't get to scrimmage, and also the backup quarterback situation is up in the air? And how difficult has that been for you guys to manage and navigate that?
Yeah, no, we've had all types of quarterback situations. Yeah, look, I mean, this is not uncommon. I mean, every time I turn around, I hear about a guy who's missing training camp or missed OTAs or can't throw until next week or whatever. So, look, injuries are part of the game. You know, I think you got to control what you can control. You got to be process-oriented. You know, it is what it is. We got to help DJ kind of, hey, look, you can't control that, right? You can control the work you do today, where you're investing your time. And, you know, you check those boxes, you do the best with today, and then you move on to the next one. So we've got to keep stacking days, and we've executed a plan so far that's worked for him, and we got to keep building momentum towards when it's time to play. So, you know, it's not about yesterday or tomorrow, it's about today, right? So, and I think it's important that we view it that way.
Do you fight the urge to ease up at this point when you got a good team and they get to this point, they've put in all the work, to start worrying about who's going to getting them all to the starting line healthy?
I mean, I think that we adapt the way we format the practice as we move towards the season, but the work is the work, you know. I think, and look, I don't think we can buy into any narrative about this team. You know, this team is going to have an opportunity to define themselves, you know. So people, you know, being ranked, people telling you think you got a good team, you're capable. To me, that's an insult when they tell you that, oh man, they might be, they're capable, they're scary. You know, to me, that's an insult. I mean, so we are going to get to decide with how we play. So I think ultimately that's what we have to prepare, and then we will get to play, and we will decide. And I think that's what our focus is on now.
If that's an insult, what's a compliment before you play a game?
Yeah, we're not going to connect any outside opinion to our confidence or how we prepare, or opinion of others' opinions. We're not connecting our confidence to that, for sure. Okay. All right, we have to get consumed with improvement in our process and being, you know, our best, each player bringing their best so we can be our best. And if everyone continues to improve, and I'm talking about staff as much as players, that's all you can worry about, you know. And, you know, at the end of the day, we'll see what the score is.
Billy, you had talked about developing a championship mentality. I heard Nick Saban once say that you have a championship mentality when you've eliminated the feelings of entitlement from an entire team. Have you been able to do that?
I would say that's one of the things I'm most proud of about our football team. We don't have those issues, in my opinion. You know, we don't have distractions. We don't have, you know, I think that these guys appreciate everyone's role within the organization, how they treat people. As simple as it sounds, leaving your space clean before you go home, you know, and having a healthy respect for the people that take care of the building. As simple as that sounds. How you treat the equipment staff, how you treat the academic staff, the trainers, the video staff, everyone that is here way before you get here, and they're here way after you leave here, and they're here to serve you. I think we have an emphasis on treating those people with respect and gratitude, and hopefully that sticks, you know, and they can take that with them the rest of the way. But I do think that's one of the good things about this team. Nobody feels entitled to what they have.
So high character, I mean, you obviously place a tremendous emphasis on it. And it shows last year the team stuck together, and, you know, when things get tough, those kind of teams don't finger point. Where else might it show up? Like subtly that you, having coached successful teams, where do you see that show up?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it shows up in academics. I think it shows up in your community. Yeah, just in general, you know, the comments we get when we travel. You know, in general, I think, you know, I've talked a lot about this in the past, but, you know, you're representing your family, you're representing your team, your community. You know, to much is given, much is expected, right? And we certainly have been blessed with an incredible opportunity here. So, never going to be burdened by the work, you know, like, I think you got to view it as an incredible opportunity. And I think we're hopeful our players see it the same way.
The receiver situation in camp, it's opened up some reps. Who's taken advantage of that in your mind, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, we have a deep group. You know, I think we have guys that will play, and then we have guys that will be competing to play every week. So we typically play around 6 guys per week, and I think that depends on how they practice for the most part that week. But, you know, we'll see where we're at next week, who's healthy. But you're going to need depth at that position. Vernell Brown III, I think, is taking full advantage of the opportunities he's gotten. I mean, he's proven to me that he's ready to play. And then others have flashed. You know, we got a lot of guys that flash, but I'm looking for consistency. J. Mike, obviously, he's a grown man. You know, he's a pro. You know, and after that, I think we're just kind of evaluating who's healthy and who's available. I think T.J. Abrams has had a good camp. Caught him, made a great play in the scrimmage Saturday. I think he's showing to be more consistent. But, you know, these other guys have been in and out depending on the day or the week. So time will tell. That's what I would say.
What stands out about Vernell? We know, like, he has the pedigree
Yeah,
and
just
the legacy, but just in terms of, like, route running, explosiveness.
he plays fast. I think he's an attention to detail guy. Most really elite receivers are consumed with the details. They're OCD. You know, they are very particular about everything. Okay, I mean, the great ones that I've coached, I mean, they are very particular about how things need to be. And so that carries over to how they play. That carries over to how they prepare, their recovery, their note-taking in the meetings, the precision in the routes, the hand selection, the release plan, the top of route separation plan, the football intelligence. I mean, it all adds up. Receiver is a skilled position, okay? We got a lot of guys out here that run really fast for our track team that cannot play receiver. Okay, they're big, but pretty fast. Receiver is a skilled position, okay? And you have to be a true student of the game to be an elite receiver. He has the traits to be an elite receiver because of that.
You said OCD. Is there something that's kind of funny with him, quirky, whether it's his gloves or something?
Yeah, you can just tell when you see them, man. I mean, just take notice of these guys, and if they're sloppy, typically that doesn't carry over. That's what I would tell you. So
You mentioned that you'd like to see some acceleration in the safety room.
we've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Caraway, Laganza, they both have emerged from that group as guys that, you know, they're capable. We're going to need those guys to continue to make progress. But I think both of those players have been durable. They've been available. They've been able to take reps. They've taken advantage of some of the work that's been available, and I think they're getting closer. They flash, but we want more consistency. Now, we need both players to be good special teams players. Mike Caraway will be a 4-core player. And then, in a perfect world, both of those guys can give us some snaps. We have 4 players at safety that we would consider starters. And then after that, I think those 2 guys have stepped up. So we need more out of them. We need more consistency. Because, look, in the secondary, you can play 5 plays just right. You make one mistake, and it's points on the board up there, okay? and those folks in the swamp are getting rowdy, so am I. But I think that's what we have to understand. The games are coming. There's no more my bad. The consequence of my bad affects the entire team. So we have to play with more consistency. And I think in general, the second tier of players on our team, that's where we need to take a leap here.
You've mentioned a couple of positions that might have more starters than the field would generally allot, right? Like Cam James, cornerback, safeties. Ballpark, how many spots do you feel are like that across this roster? And what would you say that's a testament to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think that we've developed some depth over time. I think retention and then committing to recruiting high school players and layering the roster in a way where by design you have some strategic depth. In a perfect world, we just keep elevating them each year, and the question is, how many plays do they get to play every week? Why is Cam James considered? We started several games last year, and he's played a lot of football, so certain positions you have to have rotational depth. You can't play the whole game, even the best edge players or the top inside players on defense in the country, they don't play every play. So I think it's important that we create that and develop that over time.
You guys just announced that the classic look is returning. I know the fans are pleased. How have the players reacted to those jerseys?
I don't know that I've heard one comment about it, to be quite honest with you. Now, that just happened today. Is that what? Okay, good. Well, maybe I'll let you know next time we meet. But look, uniforms are nice. Okay, uniforms are good. Looking good is nice. Playing better is nicer. So I hope they're worried about how they play, not what they're wearing. All right. Thank you all.